Welcome back to Darey.io. This is section 2 of the beginner series for Linux. My name is Darey Olu from Lyo and I'm your loyal mentor. Alright, in this section we'll start getting a lot more hands-on, but before we delve into anything that we're scheduled to do in this particular video, I'd like us to first of all talk about your PC or your laptop or whatever machine you intend to use throughout this course, because we're starting to become engineers, right? So you need a machine, something powerful enough to be able to do all the things that you want to do without any hiccups. Let me show you my setup. Let me drag this over here. System information. So the first thing I want to show you is the hardware. Forget about network, software. Let me minimize this just to make sure that we have a clean screen. Now have a look at my hardware. What I want you to focus on is the processor speed. I've got 2.8 gigahertz. Number of processors is 1. Total number of cores is number 4. So this is a quad core based computer. If you have anything of this sort, you're good to go. So you can use this to gauge if your system is going to be good enough for this course, or if you need to buy a new laptop, you can use this as a guide. Now have a look at the memory. This is the other side of the coin that is also very important. I've got 16 gig based PCs or laptops are usually expensive. I mean the gap between 16 gig and 8 gig is usually quite far apart, but if you have 8 gig, it's good to go. If you have 16 gig, much better, because we're going to be spinning up virtual machines and building clusters and doing all sorts of things. So if you're able to get this, pretty awesome. Having said that, I just wanted to show you a little bit detail of what my memory setup is like. It's just 2 slots of 8 gig of RAM. So if you have 8 gig already and your laptop is able to accommodate another 8 gig, you probably don't need to throw away your laptop. All you need to do is figure out if you can buy an additional 8 gig and just put it in your laptop. Now that you have an idea of what sort of system configuration you need to have to get the most out of this DevOps mentorship program, let's go ahead and download and install VirtualBox. But before we do that, I'd like to get you to really understand what exactly VirtualBox is, how it works, what sort of technology runs within it that makes it do what it does. So I found this definition online on Quora.com by a guy named Abhishek Chakrabarty. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce your name properly, but I found there's a lot of definition online that is very convoluted and hard to follow, especially for someone who's coming into IT world newly. But this is quite very straightforward to understand, and it basically says Oracle VirtualBox is a software which allows users to run multiple operating systems in a single machine. So that's very straightforward, because that's exactly what it does. It allows you to run multiple operating systems on a single machine. So if you have a laptop that is Windows based and you want to run Linux, Mac, or another Windows operating system on it, you need a tool like VirtualBox that would allow you to do that. And that takes us to another conversation around how exactly does VirtualBox do that. Now there's a technology called Hypervisor, and I found this definition in Wikipedia, which is quite interesting as well. I wanted to share that with you. So a hypervisor, or virtual machine monitor, in other words VMM, is a computer software that creates and runs virtual machines. So essentially this is there's a software layer to VirtualBox that allows it to be able to run multiple operating systems. And what I'd like to draw your attention to is a part here that says the hypervisor is the supervisor of the supervisor. So think about the word hyper. So when something is above a super, then it's just another way of saying it's above the super. Okay, so supervisor is basically something that the operating system kernel is sometimes regarded as. So rather than saying the operating system's kernel, you can hear in some places where they say the supervisor. So if there is a layer above that kernel that monitors the operating system, then we're talking in terms of hyper, and that's where the word hypervisor comes in. So the hypervisor is basically the software layer, or in some cases a firmware or hardware, that allows a software to be able to run multiple operating systems. Another very important concept you need to understand is the difference between a host machine and a guest machine. So a computer on which a hypervisor runs one or more virtual machines is called a host machine. Essentially, that's your laptop. If you have a VirtualBox, for example, installed on your computer which uses hypervisor, that laptop of yours that has the VirtualBox installed is the host machine. Now when you start putting virtual machines inside the VirtualBox, each of those virtual machines are then considered as the guest machine. So these concepts are very important and just have to know them so that you don't get confused when these words start flying around. In this tutorial, we are basically going to be using VirtualBox. That is our chosen virtualization software to allow us have multiple operating systems on our computer. Having said that, it's very important as well to know that there are multiple other software products that does the same thing. So for example, we have VMWare. So VMWare is another software just like VirtualBox that uses hypervisors to run multiple operating systems. Similarly, Microsoft has a product called Hyper-V which does literally the same thing. Now you might wonder, so why are we using VirtualBox? Why not VMware or Hyper-V? Well, basically Hyper-V is Microsoft based, so what that means is if you have a Mac operating system, you wouldn't be able to use Hyper-V. And VMware on the other hand has both free and commercial version. If you're on Windows, you might be able to use the free version of VMware, but they have the commercial version as well where you have to pay. It has more functionalities. But on a Mac operating system, if you're like me and you're using a Mac OS, then you are out of luck because you have to pay for VMware. It's called VMware Fusion, I believe. So because I'm on Mac, I don't want to pay nobody, and thankfully enough there is another software that does the same thing, which is open source and free. Why not use that? So basically that's why we have chosen to use VirtualBox. And without further ado, let's just get right into it. So if you go to virtualbox.org, this is the official website, and depending on the operating system, and by the way, VirtualBox is free. It runs on Windows, on OS 10, on Linux, on Solaris, on different operating systems depending on what you want. You can select which one you want. Like I'm on Mac, I'm just gonna select OS 10 and I'm gonna download that into my downloads folder. And once that is done, we're just gonna go in there and run the installer. Alright, now that it's completely downloaded, what we need to do is basically double click that. Once that's completed, you're gonna have a dialog box like this. All you have to do is either double click on this icon, or you can just move that straight into the applications folder. As that's copying, once that completely goes into the applications folder, let's just search for VirtualBox, and you're gonna have the .pkg file format here, which you then have to double click to bring up the installation dialog box, which will ask you, this package will run a program to determine if the software can be installed. Continue. Yes, and continue. If you want to change the location, you can just click right here and specify where exactly you want it to install. I'm just going to leave everything at default. It's asking me to put my fingerprint, and here we go. Brilliant. That's completely installed now, and if I just double click on the newly installed application, we should have our VirtualBox ready to go. And this is the interface. Very simple, and it does the job really. This is a really powerful tool, and very soon we're going to start seeing multiple operating systems here, which we'll be working on from time to time. Alright folks, if you haven't subscribed to the Darey YouTube channel yet, click on the subscribe button. And if you really want to be getting the latest updates on every content on DevOps, Linux, Helm, Ansible, Jenkins, Kubernetes, Docker, click on the notification button. And thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.